Hello, this is Charles, and we're about to start Chapter 6 of Learning to Fly. Chapter 5 saw Walter rescuing people from burning apartment buildings. One apartment building, two apartment buildings, and then a third. And is there something suspicious going on here? We don't know. We will find out in Chapter 6 coming up. Chapter 6. Walter finished his sixth hamburger, washed it down with a beer, and put his feet up. You know what's weird, kid? Besides eating like that, yeah, I get horribly hungry sometimes. I think my body burns stupid amounts of energy doing this stuff. No. Besides the eating, it's these fires. What's weird about them? I don't know. I'm not any expert. I'm just a retired factory worker. The one on the west side and the one out in, where was that? Amelia? They seem similar. I can't explain it. My senses are more sensitive now. There was a smell. Nothing I've ever smelled before, and I smelled it again in New York. I wonder if they were all arson. Could have been, but they were almost at the same time. Yeah, almost. I don't know. I'm not wearing my tinfoil hat or anything, but it just seems weird. You know, maybe the cops ought to know. I'll be right back, kid. You can take Otis out for a walk for a bit if you want. I'm sure he'd love to get out. Walter walked into the District 1 police station downtown and was recognized instantly. "Hi, Walter," the officer at the desk said. "To what do we owe the pleasure of your company?" "Hi, Officer Daniels," Walter said, reading the cop's name badge. "I'm not sure, just a weird hunch I need to run by the experts." "Weird hunch?" "Yeah, about those apartment fires. Nice job, by the way, getting all those people out." "That was no big deal, really. I do what I can do. Anyway, I don't know much about this sort of thing, not like you guys do. There was a weird smell at both fires. Nothing I've ever smelled before. Then I heard about one in New York City, so I zipped over there and got some folks out of that building, and I smelled the same thing. I think they were set on purpose." "You know you're dealing with different jurisdictions, don't you?" "Yeah, I just figured you could make some calls on the right people, make sure to do some digging." "I'll have you talk to Officer Cocker. He's a bit of an arson expert. If you could describe everything to him, maybe he can make some sense of it." "That would be good." "Hey, Walter," Michael Cocker said a couple minutes later. "Follow me. We'll sit down and have a chat." Walter followed the cop to an office where he pulled up a chair and sat down. "Daniels tells me you have some suspicions about the fires?" "I'm not sure. I don't know much about this sort of thing, but something smelled funny at each one, even the one in New York." "New York?" "After I got the folks out of the one in Amelia, I heard about one in Queens, so I went there and took care of that as well. Same smell there. Weird." "Can you describe the smell?" Not easily, but I'll try." Walter spent the next minute trying to describe what he smelled at the fires. "How did you pick that out?" "Can't explain it. My senses are more sensitive than yours. I can pick out things, individual smells. I can smell the corned beef sandwich you have packed in that cooler over there. Rye bread. I like rye bread. It's a hell of a sniffer you have there. What you describe is probably some sort of accelerant. If you're right, then the same thing was used at all three fires. But why New York? Seems like a bit of an outlier." "I don't know. Just telling you what I noticed. Figured you could make some calls. If they're all connected." "I see where you're headed. Thanks for stopping by. And good job out there saving those people. Most of us think you're pretty cool." "Most of you?" "Yeah, there are a couple guys around here worried you might become some kind of vigilante. Some stories going around. Couple incidents in Clifton. Clifton's a weird part of town. You know, all those college kids. Well, I'll make some calls about the fires. You need anything else? Stop by. Or just give us a call." "Will do." "What did the cops say?" Franklin asked when Walter walked in the door. "Said they'd take a look at it. I'm telling you, all those fires were the same. I don't know why. I don't know what kind of bastard would burn down some apartment buildings. Doesn't make any sense. Someone testing you? Now that doesn't make any sense either. I don't know. First building, then another one right after that, then another. It would be a good way to see how fast you are. It would, but I was hardly moving at all. Not as fast as I was the first time I went to Africa. I'm just saying, that's what I would do if I wanted to get an idea how powerful you are. Time how fast you move from one to another. That hardly tests how powerful I am, only how fast I can move. You don't even know how powerful you are. We haven't tested your strength. I know I'm pretty strong. I'm afraid to punch someone now. But we don't really know how strong you are or how invincible. Bullets didn't do much. No, but what about larger weapons? You don't want to find that out the hard way. You're probably right. I'll go out later and try to lift some big stuff. Maybe start with that clunker I have parked on the street. What if you drop it? I have faster ways of getting around, but first things first, how are your studies coming along? Well, I got on that site. That's what I figured. Get on there now and get at it. I'm headed outside for a bit. Walter grabbed a leash and Otis stood up, anticipating a walk. Come on, buddy, Walter said, picking up the dog and carrying him out the door under one arm. It wasn't until he got outside that he realized what he had done. Otis has to weigh 250 if he weighs a pound, he thought. His clunker was no different than lifting the dog. It was no more difficult than picking up a jug of milk. He tested that by picking the car up, flying to Kroger, putting the car in a parking spot, coming back out with a few bags of groceries, loading them in the car, and flying back home. He then took Otis out of the car and walked him around the neighborhood for a few minutes before bringing him and the groceries in the apartment. How'd it go, old man? Franklin asked. That's Mr. Old Man to you, kid. The car was nothing, like picking up that lamp there. Better not let Otis get used to being carried around. I might not be able to pull that off. Nah, we had a good walk. You picked the car up pretty easy? Took it to Kroger and filled it with groceries. A lot of people do that. Parking lot's full every day. You see anyone else carry their cars and set them down in the parking lot? Can't say I've ever seen that. You said it was easy? Yeah, it felt like it weighed 5 pounds. And what have we learned from this little exercise? You can pick up a ton like it's nothing, but we still don't know really how strong you are. And what have you learned while I was away? Made some pretty good progress, actually. I remember most of the science stuff from school. Math? Well, I best study up on the math. You know I got okay grades. And why didn't you finish? That last foster home. Well, let's just say I couldn't stick around there. You couldn't just report whatever was wrong and get someplace else? Maybe. I don't know. I had to get out fast. You care to talk about it? Not really. Maybe later. You can't keep it buried forever. I said later, okay? Okay, so about the test. You think you'll be ready soon? Yeah, man, just gotta brush up on the math stuff. Give me a few days. How about you? Any more super stuff in the works? You know how that goes. I see anything, I'll do what I can do. But man, I'm getting annoyed just going out in public. You know how it was in Kroger? 6 people in the cereal aisle put what they were buying back and picked up the brand I bought. I turn a corner, and there are another dozen people wanting something autographed. Walter, take a selfie with me. Sign my receipt. Man, kid, it was tiring. I told you about the secret identity, but you didn't listen. And that's not the first time you've reminded me of that either. I just want to relax a bit before... What was that? What was what? A woman screaming. Someone's in danger. Guess we can add super hearing to your list. Second time on that one. Well, kid, I'll be right back. Care to put away the groceries? Sure thing, Gramps. Walter left the apartment, checking to see if anyone saw him leave. The last thing he needed was for people to know where he lived. He could still hear the woman screaming. He flew up 1,000 feet and tried to pinpoint the direction it was coming from. It seemed to come from the west. He flew that direction, homing in on the sound as it got louder and louder. He was near Delhi when it got louder and he came down to street level, eventually landing in front of the now abandoned Our Lady of Perpetual Help church. He heard her scream again, but it wasn't coming from the church, but from an abandoned house across the street. The house was a rickety two-story affair with a stone foundation and a couple windows still intact. He walked up the stone stairs on the side toward a door which was locked but was no obstacle. He broke the lock and entered the house. "Help me!" The woman's voice came from above him. "I'm on my way, just hold tight," he said. "Help me, please, someone help me!" The voice screamed again. Walter climbed the stairs to the second floor and checked 2 rooms, finding nothing, but the woman screamed again, and he went down the hall to another room. There was nobody in the room, nothing but a speaker sitting on an end table. The woman's voice coming out of the speaker every couple seconds. What the? His voice was drowned out by a terrific explosion that reduced the house to kindling and did damage to the old church across the street. Everything seemed to happen in slow motion to Walter. The fireball came from just below his feet and engulfed him, but he only felt slightly warmed by the flames. He saw the shock wave and saw the entire house come apart by the force of the blast. He saw the floor give way under his feet, and hovering in the air until what seemed like minutes, but was actually only a second or two, he found himself above a pile of stone and wood. Car alarms were going off up the street, and people were starting to walk out of their houses to see what was going on. A minute later, Walter walked into the District 1 police station, still smelling like smoke. "Hi, Walter," the cop at the desk said. "Whoa, where have you been? You look like crap." "You're going to get a report of an explosion over in Delhi, if you haven't already." "Yeah, someone just called it in. Fire department's on the way. And we have a couple officers headed there. The house was abandoned. It was a trap." "A trap?" "I believe for me. I heard a woman's voice screaming like she was in trouble. Got there, and it was recorded. Nobody was in the house. As soon as I'm inside, whole place goes up. And you walk out with nothing but singe marks on your shirt and smelling like smoke? Damn." "Yeah, but what if someone else would have heard the voice and gone in there? Someone could have been killed." "You didn't notice any cameras?" "Wasn't really looking for cameras. Just thought someone was in trouble. Figured it would be another easy rescue. Just get someone out and go back home." "Sounds like someone detonated when you were in there. If you ask me, either trying to take you out or to see if you could be taken out." "Well, this one didn't work, but what if whoever this is keeps trying but with stronger bombs? Or worse? People could get hurt. Just between you and me, I'm betting on the same people who set those apartment buildings on fire." "Okay, Walter, we'll look into it. You got a way we can reach you?" "Well, don't like giving out my number, but just between you and me, okay?" "Yeah, we need to reach you. I can pass along messages." "Sure thing," Walter said, writing his number on a piece of paper. "Officer Wilkins?" "Yeah, Larry Wilkins at your service. You need anything, just stop in or give us a ring." Well, I hope you enjoyed Chapter 6. If so, please like and subscribe. For information about my other work, check out the links in the description below. Take care, and I will see you on the next one.